Alright, story update. The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it is, it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover, after all. Even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Becca. Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement. Alright, buckle up everyone, here we go.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there.
But we don't have any other choice, Becca!
Oh boy.
There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just...
Isabella, no.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over after all of us has gotten a decent rest. I should have expected things won't be the same with them as it is with Zach and I. Bros, man. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it. In spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible, there's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zachary meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing.
Sounds like a great pub.
Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving. Doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabella's. A part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, it's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Sure. Ah, this music. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely ever see her seething, but from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant. The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy. A conversation that turned sour sometime after a late lunch, then. Good thing they're already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Because, in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this let a ghost everything.
You're blaming me again!
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you!
Go, Bella!
If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
Yeah, go get her, Bella!
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it.
You've always been this way, Isabella.
Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache.
Ooh, Becca, too far.
You know why I had to come here. My dad.
Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
And this is where I start to dislike Becca again. Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca has slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. I mean, we could stop any further ones, if we want to. Do we want to? Look at the juxtaposition between these two. When Ashton showed up at the pub's main lounge again, he caught Rebecca and Isabella in the middle of an argument. The latter insisted on going back to the mansion, which the former strongly opposed. However, before Ashton could step in, harsh words had already been said. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence, while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they're both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break until the ones at its center does so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand? There has always been a certain stubbornness in her. As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what has gotten her through life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling onto what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw when a struggle turns useless. A kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit, in fast, rigid steps away from the hurt and painful words they've let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment, and I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in a steadying grip. Oh no, it's Ashton! Surprise flits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about this. Which waifu do you want, Ashton Frey? Well, we all know who we're going for.
You okay?
All that goodwill we worked up is just gone again. But we are now full with Isabella. Rather than answer, once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks, like she only noticed them in that moment. Then, without another word or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps on the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both her patience and energy. Usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say those things, though, and my disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth curving down to a tight frown. I cross my arm in response, waiting, a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything yet. Not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture.
What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me, or I'm going back upstairs.
Okay, you're being kind of an asshole. I should know.
Did you really have to say it like that?
Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that.
Ooh, the implications.
That's a low blow, Rebecca. Even for you. We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There was no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do was stop her.
Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better.
Becca, she'll listen if you'll just ask her properly. I know you mean well and you do have a point. But please be a little more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while.
Dang. Go cool your head, Bex. By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent, or at least that's how it seems when a minute or two passes and she says nothing. A rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eyes, one that quickly disappears until only a vague notion of it remains in memory. But in that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. I'll never win her love, because Isabella's my true love. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were. Yeah, I kind of felt like that was something the two of you had to come to realize eventually. It's almost like your friendship was based on what used to be there, and the people you were, not who you grew to become. And if it's for the better, we've yet to know. That is rough, though. Sorry it had to come out this way. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. G's nowhere to be seen. People continue to trickle out instead of in, and by the time I get back, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon these people too will be gone, and the whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead, there's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, and one of the tables sit right beside the windows. She looks like she's calmed down some. G usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, outlining her small form and pooling on the surface of the table where both her arms rest. In her hand, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it. Yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again. The rare ones. The ones where she's too still, too quiet. A complete opposite of her usual self. But it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short few seconds of wordless silence, where the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest, minuscule things that tell you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Well, it was pretty while it lasted. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibes. Back again to what we're used to. What's easy, what's familiar, where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe? Who wouldn't be? While I do agree with Rebecca, her words still hit below the belt. Yeah. The intention was good. The wording could have used a lot of work. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me. At least compared to every other people I've aggravated, intentional or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this mood.
Come on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke, and she's expecting there'll be more of it. I mean, it's accurate. Really, now? She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be.
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online.
Nice.
Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now.
Yet, it sounds half-hearted at best. Like what's happening has already sapped every bit of energy in her, and all that's left are the words. Pretty soon, those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already unusual to see her like this. Everything has already gone to shit. I'd like at least this one thing to stay normal. So somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of the hour, talking, joking, with her short, feeble responses and banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter, when it finally rings, easy and free of her burdens.
Okay, I have another one.
Oh no.
I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away.
No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl.
Will you leave me alone if I bite and ask who?
A beat. Yeah, a pause. And then she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually settling on a grimace. That was pretty good.
Oh.
Aw, look at that face. That's cute. Suddenly, she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she's trying to contain.
You're awful, and I really hate you. Just leave.
No, you don't. I'm great, and you love me. It's contagious, her mirth. Soon I'm joining her in it, briefly forgetting every problem that has piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Bleh. Laughing without reservation or care, until only a familiar warmth lingers, once both our amusement ebbs away. Somehow with her, these things have always come easy.
Feeling better?
A little. You're still lame.
Fair.
But you're laughing right now.
Only because your humor is terrible.
Right. Keep telling yourself that. I know it's funny. And you know what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked.
Oh, too far.
That would have been really messy and ugly.
Ash, you were doing so well, man. I'm rooting for you, but you're making it difficult. If glares can kill, with the one she sends my way, I'll probably be dead by now. Seeing it directed my way, it takes only a few quick seconds for me to realize how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears, however unintentional it is. I've never been good with words. But that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? If only you would say, like, speak the way you think. The way you think is like poetic musings, and it's so beautiful, but then you open your mouth and garbage comes out. If you could just switch that, that would be great. Suddenly, taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated than correcting or explaining myself. Nevertheless, I try.
What?
Here we go.
Ah, God, crap.
Ah!
Damn it, that was so not what I meant. I was just saying you look better when you're smiling.
Uh-huh. Her glare doesn't even wane. In fact, I think it intensified like the brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should...
Thanks, Ash.
What? She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet. But when I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the whole room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last strains of music fading into silence above us. Instead, it is the meaning behind her gaze as she holds mine that lingers. Steady, unflinching, and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and an expression softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy it is for her to wear her heart on her sleeve. How she never shies away from expressing herself even among people she barely knows. How she can go through everything without losing herself. Now it's among the hundreds, the thousands that hang unspoken between us. Trivial little things with worth still too big to put into words. Either because it's too early, or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this'll do. Until the moment itself dwindles. Until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we set aside in its favor.
Isabella, about what happened with Rebecca earlier.
I should probably apologize to Becca. I know she only means well. And I said some really bad things.
The corners of her mouth quirks up, almost as if she's too ashamed of the things she said.
Don't worry, she can be pretty stubborn, but she'll listen. Especially to you.
You think?
Because Zach won't be with us anymore.
What an unfortunate, audio clip to play right then. Zach, where have you gone, my dude? Why did you leave us? Oh no. Oh, that's too funny. Oh, I need to calm down. Oh, that was so good. Also, Isabella, you're one of the few people she likes.
She won't stay angry for long. I can vouch for it.
She has a point, though. More than I did about my random Zach. Isabella freezes. In an instant, the pleasant air around us dissipates. She shifts her attention back to her hands again, both clenched so tightly that her knuckles visibly pale.
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there. That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need.
You're not alone in thinking that.
I found the letter there, so maybe, right?
It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have, after all. But Rebecca also has a point I will always agree with, no matter how desperate I am. It's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we might find in there? If she comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. She'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. Exactly as I have told Zach, who's left me somewhere. If there's a need to go back to that accursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Anything to keep her safe. It's dangerous, or I can't let you do that. I mean, she knows it's dangerous. I'm gonna save. I feel like if I get him to say, I can't let you do that, then she'll be like, why, Ash? Because I care about you, Isabella.
I can't let you do that, Belle.
Nice.
Ash, the people living in that place now, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are.
I know, but it's risky. It's dangerous. We don't know what you might find in there. Or if you'll even find anything. What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do?
Hit her with a book.
For all we know, it might be a dead end. It's not worth it. To put yourself in harm's way like that.
She offers no response, not even a form of resistance. No further argument like I've come to expect from her. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin, till the air in the whole room grows heavy. In front of her, her hand still stays curled up, like it's holding on to everything she wishes to say but can't. I like to think that, yes, to some extent, she understands, even if she does not entirely agree with me. The dilemma's clear in her. Otherwise, her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it. Her lips wouldn't be pressed in a thin line, or her hand would no longer be balled into fists. She would have pushed that argument if she doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Instead, she simply offers a nod, an acquiesce. And in a moment of boldness, perhaps insolence, I reach out to her, taking her clenched fists in mine and drawing them closer to me. Yes! She sucks in a breath, soft and sharp, but doesn't say anything, merely watching as both my hands cradle hers. Cautious, mindful, as if it's the most precious thing I've held. Then again, maybe it is. Along with everything I've yet to convey.
Stop that.
Stop what? Surprisingly, although the gesture has startled her, she yields. Allows a touch that is far too familiar and more than what I'm willing to give most.
You're going to hurt yourself if you keep doing that.
Gently, I unfurl her fingers, flattening out each digit against my palms. Her nails have already created small dents on her skin, from how tightly she has held it close. A little more and she would have drawn blood. Deep as it is, smoothing a thumb over the tiny marks does nothing. But it's a small gesture we both find comfort in amidst this chaos, and all at once the tension lifts. Her expression softens, the lines of her shoulders ease, and it is only after her lips curve up in a faint smile that I let go. Giving her hand one last squeeze before returning it to her. Aw. Part of me wants to tell her, admit that it's exactly what I'm planning tonight. What good will it do, though? I've already told Zach. One person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware, at least of where I'm heading off to, in case things don't pan out. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. It's best that I simply leave it as it is for now. Isabella doesn't need to be burdened with the worry my entire scheme entails. I stand up as soon as footsteps shuffle from the next room, its cadence slow and hesitant. Aw. Shortly, Rebecca comes into view, clutching her hands firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty in her face. She casts me a cursory look, then shifts a nervous one to Isabella, who studies her with an almost hopeful gleam in her eyes. Their fights never did last long. I thought you said sometimes they last up to a week.
Belle, can we talk? Alone?
Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad for it. You guys kiss and make up. Whatever kind of friendship I share with the two, this remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. I'm the outsider. They don't need me here. It's all the reason I need. Let's see. Aw, that's so sweet. After scolding Rebecca for her harsh tone, a concerned Ashton followed after Isabella. He found her alone in a corner of the lounge, upset. Despite agreeing with her, he gently explained why going back wouldn't be a good idea. Thankfully, she eventually acquiesced. Muttering an excuse and flashing Isabella a quick, knowing smile, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave them to mend things on their own. Before Isabella can say what she's been mulling over. Before the last imploring glance she directs my way forces me to change my mind. It's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory. One that spurs the conscience, among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. Alright, we're on our way. Galway Shaw's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight. With the lively music and chatter, slipping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. Without much trouble, soon enough, I find myself standing outside under the chilly Luxburn night. A gust of wind picks up shortly after I step out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or two before it starts. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material closer to my body while I weave my way through the lines of empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinkles in my pocket with each step I take, though I pay it no mind as I hurry towards my car. When did you pilfer that? I've nicked it minutes ago from Isabella's belongings on my way out. If this is all connected, I need this damn piece of paper with me. She is going to track you down as soon as she realizes, man. However ridiculous it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be Miss either, but I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. 3, if I'm inclined to go by the rules Z-Man set, but when have I ever? Z-Man is worried about you, and he's gone. Don't you understand, Ash? He's gone. Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. So I hurry, one footstep over the other, echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. And it does. In the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. How did you beat me out here? You were just in there apologizing to Isabella. In that time, you apologized, came out here past me, and waited for me? You're totally a ghost right now. Rebecca turns just as I near, the corners of her mouth twitching up in a wry smile. She offers no greeting except for a slight tilt of her head. Even as my pace slows and I look at her with all the unvoiced questions in my eyes, she remains wordless. Merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention up at the starless sky when I come up to stand beside her. Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, weary, thick with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away while she hugs her arms closer to herself to keep warm, which raises the question why she's out here, or rather how she's out here. The air is already heavy with the promise of rain, with clouds on this very starry night, obscuring the view. There's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness and stars. Still, she stands here as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall. That or she's here for some other reason. But before I can voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question.
I'm not here to stop you, wherever it is you're planning to go off tonight.
Okay.
I won't be able to anyway. You look like you've already made up your mind.
Go back inside. It's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to be caught in it.
I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here a bit for some air, away from the noise inside. Everything's been so chaotic these days. This little break is nice. Even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot, of all places. Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
It'll be over soon.
Thanks, Ash. The confidence in my own words surprises even me. How do I know? Why am I so sure? When, in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, if I don't find anything, we're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light draft sweeping around us.
How I wish. I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes.
I don't know if that'll happen even after we get rid of her.
I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma.
Comforting, Ash, comforting.
I can try. But, you know, it also did a lot to us.
It's true.
Tell me about it. The back of my head's still smarting from my fall last night.
Not that kind.
Not that kind. I'm talking about us. As people.
Got you thinking, didn't it?
I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it also brought out an ugly side to us. To all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me realize plenty of things.
Are you going to confess right now, Ghost Becca?
About myself. About us.
Rebecca trails off. Suddenly, a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless of times before. And every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by a memory. A silly story, or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Unlike me, who will much rather forget, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she smiles, I know this is one of those times again.
Do you remember that one time, back in secondary?
Which one? We did a
Which
lot
one?
of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point.
Mandy.
I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you've kept in contact with her. Are you guys friends now or something?
The mysterious Mandy.
Oh no. We do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch, but it's nothing like that. We're not friends. Not in this lifetime. I don't think so.
What happened with Mandy?
I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day. And from then on, things have changed.
She makes it sound like I'm some sort of hero. Mandy was in the wrong. Of course I'll defend her. If no one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are it would have escalated, and who knows? Maybe she would have stopped going to school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I acted because I know what I'm doing is what's right. It's as simple as that. Oh, but she loved you from that moment on, Ash, you big dum-dum. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that. A fondness that goes beyond nostalgia.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this time, I don't want this to go unsaid.
Oh, Becca, I'm so sorry.
You know, just in case something happens. Ash, I've always been in love with you.
Salute for Becca. You know what? You finally got your courage up after, what, 17 years or however ridiculously long it's been. Congratulations on finally confessing, because now you can move on with your life. You needed to do this. I'm super proud of you. She says it so plainly, holding my gaze and in a voice too frank that her admission stuns me into silence. Like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one fell swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought, as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues, desperate to express everything she has kept to herself all these years. This is what the fondness is. Why, for her, it weighs heavier than any feelings of nostalgia can carry.
Since that time in secondary? Since I made that promise to never leave?
Oh my.
I've always truly loved you.
Afterwards, there is relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back to me, though, there's nothing but hope in them, eyes that are searching for an answer. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I find myself grasping, scrambling for the words. Because, as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affections she's asking from me. So the story update is probably because we have more affection with Isabella than Becca right now. I was wondering if they were going to make us choose, but our choices up to this point have chosen for us. I'll be so interested next time to see what he thinks, what his thought process is when he reciprocates. Ugh. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold for her feelings that goes beyond the boundaries of friendship. I do appreciate her presence in my life. Ugh. That's cold. Oof. Eeh, my heart. I'm more than glad that she has stuck with me, even through the toughest moments. Even when she finds me difficult or aggravating. However, it's really all there is to it. I don't even know if that's friendship at that point. It's like, I'm grateful for her presence. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more.
Rebecca,
I draw in a breath, ragged, unsure. Uncertain how and which words to put together so it will hurt her less, so the wounds they might leave won't be as deep or scar. In the end, I can only utter an apology.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
Stark refusal. I'm sorry, Becca.
I'm glad, I'm happy you feel that way, but I can't. I can't. There's already someone that I'm in love with. Someone else.
It takes all of my willpower to force myself to even look at her. For sure, there will be hurt. Maybe she'll even be angry, and I don't hold it against her. She knows. But she had to do it, and I'm proud. I'm super proud of her. And sure enough, when our eyes meet again, her mouth has already settled in a tight line and she assumes a rigid pose. Wonder what that story update was. There's a sharpness to her gaze, but behind it is pain, undeniable, searing, something that she tries to hide by hastily looking away and stepping back.
Becca, I know this...
It's all right, Ashton. You don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, but you should... I should...
I told you, no need. It's not like I didn't have an idea or anything. When you think about it, it's really quite obvious. The way you've always looked at her said everything. Anyway, let's just end this conversation here, all right? I don't think it would do us both any good. This is going to get really awkward if we keep at it. When all has been said and done, at least I told you, right?
You did tell him.
Maybe I can finally let this whole thing go. Who knows?
Yeah. I hope so, Becca. I hope so.
Thanks for hearing me out, though. I won't keep you long. I know you have things to do. Just promise me you won't do anything dumb, all right?
Poor Bex. That's tough. Ashton left for the mansion at nightfall, but when he got to his car, he found Rebecca waiting for him. Fearing she might not have the chance, Rebecca confessed her feelings. However, Ashton couldn't reciprocate. Visibly hurt, Rebecca left it at that. She only wanted him to know. Oh, we're still there. She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she flashes me one last strained smile before walking away, while the only thing I can do is watch her retreating back. In that one moment, one conversation, something also breaks between us. Something irreparable. A different kind of regret. Haunting me amidst the silence of my car as I drive off and leave it all behind. Well, he does feel bad about it. I'm gonna be so interested next time I go through this. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxburn and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. Alright, it's after midnight. No longer Halloween. The rain fall in fast. The rain fall in fast? Fall in fast, steady sheets. Creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in the city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. Please find Marianne, by the way. She's starved or whatever to death. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I've found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag, Wright, has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property, although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped in the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself? It feels empty. Eerie. Too quiet. Normally, I'll pass it off as some kind of a power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables and what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in a prison, not a morgue. Okay, well at least you got your priorities straight. Uh-oh, not that again. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Perhaps a ghostly servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact. Not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully, keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. Oh dear. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate anguish cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand, ready on the gun, holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and... nothing. Abruptly it all stops, and I am met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks, and...
Help me.
The voice sounds different now. Oh boy. Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting. And tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Hopefully we didn't die. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? I think those were the voices he heard in the pub, too. It was Zach, Becca, and Isabella. A reminder of what I failed to do and of who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me apart from one. There is only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Where Marianne is! Marianne! Scream for me, my love. Tell me you're alive and haven't, died of thirst. The woman had started in earnest. The storm had started in earnest, good grief, when Ashton arrived at the mansion. While trying to find a way in, the detective noticed the eerie silence that had enveloped the place. Something was wrong inside. But before he could figure it out, the sobs of a woman suddenly echoed. So he fell into a secret entrance exit into this underground dungeon place, I guess? Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remain still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
That must have been quite the fall. There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the top side. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place. A mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul. Like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Surprisingly not. At least, not that we know of. Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, with the fire still burning on the torch sconces? If this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear is inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Yeah, no. Turns out that alone is too much to ask for this early. Marianne! No 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless, straining my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here. Or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Probably wise. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak?
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
I can't believe you're still alive, girl. It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
Oh, Marianne, you're a skull now. In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Somewhere. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. And not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Close. The same one I met at G's 5 days ago. Smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
Holmes? No, not McLaughlin. McLaughlin? McCullough. Marianne McCullough. Famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now. Dang. Poor girl, she's been trapped down here for days. With how exhausted and feeble she looks, trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing shallow, and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just
fell in and that woman... Whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment.
No, now.
But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
Ugh, could you imagine eating a granola bar when you haven't had, like, any water or anything for days? It would just, like, be sand in your mouth and, like, you wouldn't be able to swallow it. Water, man. Water first. I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Girl. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she has said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort if the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything. Ah, that's where you got water. Okay, thank goodness. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here. Not like I need it. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to the cell together. Just need some leverage. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. Probably wise. We can't have another person trapped in here, however McCullough ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head snaps back to her. McCullough extricates a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort. No kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCullough's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Prison break! Hooray!
After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up... I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something.
Someone. Yeah. A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes, something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her. I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry. And I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans.
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here. People died in this place. Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore.
Of course.
It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Who dragged it? I mean, I assume the ghost must have dragged it down there because those kids died in the foyer or the lobby or whatever.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
Oh, how I wish that were true.
Mikala, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls.
Oh dear, poor McCullough.
We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Mikalo!
McCullough? Abruptly, she stops, looking back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days. From my own friends, even. To know she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not.
I don't know about that.
He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me, only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. She can always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and letter. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. After his fall, Ashton found himself in an underground passage when he came to. There he encountered Marianne McCullough, who got trapped in one of the jail cells for several days. The detective managed to free her, and in turn she helped him find a way into the mansion. Then, without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. Occasionally, she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for... something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages, secret dungeons... I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the Undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over.